Hi everyone, this is Ruchi Kulkarni. Today we are going to do the chapter Glimpses of India from your book First Flight of Class 10th. This chapter has got three different stories. In today's session we are going to do its first story, A Baker from Goa, written by Lucio Rodrigues. A long time ago, Portuguese ruled over Goa. Portuguese were famous for their loaves of bread and baking skills. They passed this legacy to the locals in Goa. This traditional profession is still passed on from one generation to another generation there. The writer is a witness of this, and he has very vividly described about the importance of traditional Goan baker in this society. He recalls his childhood days and their excitement on seeing the baker. So let's read and understand part 1 of chapter Glimpses of India, which is A Baker from Goa, written by Lucio Rodrigues. Thereafter, we'll do significance of the title, moral, and all the question answers related to it. But let me tell you a little bit about its author first. Lucio Rodrigues was born in 1916. He was a great Konkani essayist. He wrote several articles in English and Konkani to various periodicals and magazines. He served as the visiting professor of folklore at many universities and also as a professor of English in Mumbai and Goa. His essays were posthumously published under the title of Soil and Soul and Konkani Folk Tales. Subtle humor and informal narration are the essential features of his writing. He died in 1973. This is a pen portrait of a traditional Goan village baker who still has an important place in his society. Pen portrait is an informal description of a person or group of people in terms of their attitudes, appearance, and lifestyle. In this part of the chapter, the writer has very vividly described about a Goan village baker who is still important to the people of this society. Now let's read through this part and know what is his speciality. Our elders are often heard reminiscing nostalgically about those good old Portuguese days. Reminiscing nostalgically means thinking fondly of the past. And Portuguese are the people who had come from Portugal and who ruled over Goa. The Portuguese and their famous loaves of bread. Loaf is a collective noun for bread. So loaves of bread means many packets or many pieces of bread. Those eaters of loaves might have vanished, but the makers are still there. Vanished means disappear. We still have amongst us the mixers, the molders, and those who bake the loaves. Molders are those people who mold dough, the bread dough, in a shape. Those age-old, time-tested furnaces still exist. A furnace is a closed structure in which material can be heated to very high temperatures. The fire in the furnaces has not yet been extinguished. Extinguished means put out. The thud and jingle of the traditional baker's bamboo heralding his arrival in the morning. Heralding means announcing. Can still be heard in some places. Maybe the father is not alive, but the son still carries on the family profession. These bakers are, even today, known as padeir in Goa. Padeir is a word for baker in Portuguese language. The writer starts by saying that he had often heard his elders thinking very fondly about the past, the days when Portuguese used to rule over Goa, because these Portuguese were famous for making loaves of bread. They used to bake bread in a certain way. The people who ate bread at that time might not be alive anymore, but those who make the bread are still there. And the Goan society still has got people who are mixers, molders, and bakers of those loaves of bread. Every morning, the baker used to announce his arrival by hitting his bamboo stick on the ground. Such a sound of the baker's bamboo can still be heard in some places in Goa. Maybe their father is not alive, but their son still carries that baking profession in Goa. And these bakers are called as padeir in Goa. Padeir is a word in Portuguese language, as they used to be called in earlier times. During our childhood in Goa, the baker used to be our friend, companion, and guide. He used to come at least twice a day, once when he set out in the morning on his selling round, and then again when he returned after emptying his huge basket. The jingling thud of his bamboo woke us up from sleep, and we ran to meet and greet him. Why was it so? Was it for the love of the loaf? Not at all. The loaves were bought by some Paskin or Bastin, the maid servant of the house. What we longed for were those bread bangles, which we chose carefully. Sometimes it was sweet bread of special make. Bread bangle is a bread in shape of bangles, and Paskin and Bastin are the maids of the house. The baker made his musical entry on the scene with the jing-jang sound of his specially made bamboo staff. Staff means stick. One hand supported the basket on his head and the other banged the bamboo on the ground. The writer remembers that when he was a child, the baker used to be their friend and guide, and he used to come there twice a day. Once in the morning while selling the bread, and second time while he was returning with his empty basket. The sound of his bamboo stick used to wake up the narrator and other children, and they used to run to meet him. These children never went to him to buy loaves of bread, because the loaves were bought by the servants, the maid servants of the house. Instead, the children wanted to eat bread bangles. These were a special kind of bread which the baker used to bake, because this bread was in the shape of bangles. And the children used to carefully choose their bread bangles to eat. Sometimes they would even eat sweet bread which was specially made. Whenever the baker made an entry, he would do it with lot of sound, with banging of his bamboo staff. And that is why the sound is referred here as jang jang. He would keep his basket on his head, which was supported by one hand, and in the other hand he would have this bamboo which he would bang on the ground. He would greet the lady of the house with good morning and then place his basket on the vertical bamboo. We kids would be pushed aside with a mild rebuke, and the loaves would be delivered to the servant. Rebuke means an expression of disapproval or a scolding. But we would not give up. We would climb a bench or the parapet and peep into the basket somehow. I can still recall the typical fragrance of those loaves. Loaves for the elders and the bangles for the children. Then we did not even care to brush our teeth or wash our mouths properly. And why should we? Who would take the trouble of plucking a mango leaf for the toothbrush? And why was it necessary at all? The tiger never brushed his teeth. Hot tea could wash and clean up everything so nicely after all. The writer here now explains that whenever this baker would come to sell the bakery products or the bread to his home, he would first greet the lady of the house, and after that the servants would pick up the loaves of the bread. And when the writer was small, he and other kids used to be scolded because they always used to come ahead to see his basket, what was kept in his basket. But somehow they would always climb on a bench or a parapet and try to look into the basket or with whatever he had. The writer still remembers that typical smell of the loaves. The bread loaves were meant for the elders and the bread bangles were meant for the children. And to have those bread bangles, these children never cared to even brush their teeth or wash their mouth properly. They thought that what is the use of all this? They did not want to take the trouble of plucking the mango leaf for the toothbrush because they thought that it wasn't necessary at all. Once they had hot tea, then that tea would clean up the mouth so nicely. And they also thought that a tiger never brushed his teeth. So if he never brushed his teeth, then why should they do it? Marriage gifts are meaningless without the sweetbread known as the bowl, just as a party for a feast loses its charm without bread. Not enough can be said to show how important a baker can be for a village. The lady of the house must prepare sandwiches on the occasion of her daughter's engagement. Cakes and bolinas are a must for Christmas as well as other festivals. Bolinas are coconut cookies. Thus, the presence of the baker's furnace in the village is absolutely essential. The baker or bread seller of those days had a peculiar dress known as kabai. Peculiar means strange. It was a single piece, long frock reaching down to the knees. A typical sweet bread known as bowl used to be used as a marriage gift. And in every party or feast, there used to be these breads made by bakers. So this shows that a baker was very important in that village because without his products, no occasion used to be complete. The lady of the house would prepare sandwiches on the occasion of her daughter's wedding. There used to be cakes and bolinas. Bolinas means the coconut cookies whenever Christmas or any other festival came. So therefore, the presence of baker's furnace used to be absolutely essential in the village. The baker or this bread seller used to wear a strange kind of dress. His dress was a single piece, a long frock till the knees, and this dress was known as kabai. In our childhood, we saw bakers wearing a shirt and trousers which was shorter than full length ones and longer than half pants. Even today, anyone who wears a half pant which reaches just below the knees invites the comment that he is dressed like a pader. The baker usually collected his bills at the end of the month. Monthly accounts used to be recorded on some wall in pencil. Baking was indeed a profitable profession in the old days. The baker and his family never starved. He, his family, and his servants always looked happy and prosperous. Their plump physique was an open testimony to this. Plump physique means pleasantly fat body. An open testimony means public statement about a character or quality. Even today, any person with a jackfruit-like physical appearance is easily compared to a baker. But over the time, the dress of these bakers changed. So when the writer was small, he saw the bakers wearing a shirt and trousers. But these trousers were less than full length and little longer than half pants. And even today, if anyone wears a pant like that, which reaches just below the knees, everybody would comment and address him as a pader. The bakers usually collected their bills at the end of the month, and this monthly account of the baking products used to be recorded on some wall in the house with a pencil. Baking used to be a very profitable profession because the bakers used to make a lot of money. It was never that the baker or his family had seen difficult times or they were poor. They always looked very happy and prosperous. Their body used to tell this. They had fat bodies. Their physique was very plump. And even today, if there is any person who looks like a jackfruit or who has a plump body, he is easily compared to a baker. In other words, if there is a fat person in the village, he is ridiculed and he is compared to a baker who also is generally fat. This story is about the traditional Goan bakers from the time when Portuguese ruled over Goa. Here, the writer talks about the importance and skill of these bakers. He describes about how they baked the loaves of bread, how they were welcomed by children and elders in the streets when they set out to sell their stuff every day. The writer also describes the importance of these bakery products on special occasions and festivals. Since this story explains all about the traditional bakers of Goa, the title is aptly justified. The moral of this story suggests that every profession is good and respectable. A baker may not be a highly paid person, but his baking skills are no less important than any other professional. Just as the traditional bakers in Goa are still important and respected by the locals of the village, we too must derive this inspiration from them and hold all kinds of work in high regard. Therefore, remember that no work is unimportant. That's all in today's session, and if you like learning with me, please like, share and subscribe to my channel. Wait for my next video. The next one is going to be on the second part of Glimpses of India, Kurk. I'll see you again in my next video. Till then, take good care of yourself and goodbye.